Hi, in this video, I'm going to show really simple methods for solving a four-dimensional 2x2 twisty puzzle. And to make sure that it's pretty easy to understand, I'm going to start by showing how to do a similar solve on the three-dimensional 2x2 and explaining what moves are legal. The reason I'm doing this is because one of the things I've heard about this puzzle is that it's pretty hard to solve, that it's higher level, and I think that it can be simple. Now, I don't want to mislead. Simple does not mean it isn't time consuming. It's definitely a slower solve. For example, this puzzle, no matter how I mix it up with my very beginner kind of friendly basic method, is a pretty quick solve. Just as an example, that's pretty thoroughly scrambled. The first thing I do when solving these is I build one layer of the same color pieces. So I do that to put those together. That's a bar, and now I need to put these two in place without breaking those. This is, again, this can be done pretty easily. I'm not going to explain too thoroughly on this. There are a lot of really good guides that show how easy this can be done. But my emphasis is really just to kind of show the steps that I'm going to use on here, which I will ultimately be using on here, right? So I've created this half of the puzzle, and now I just need to solve this top. And so right here we have white, blue, red, which matches the blue and red of here and the white that's going to be on this side. But this is red and green instead of blue, orange. This is green and orange, which is correct. And this is blue and orange, which is not. So I'm going to rotate this again because this is a kind of tricky state, but you sometimes get it. And by putting it here, now this one is in the, let's see, if I put it here. So this one is now in the correct position, but this one's wrong. So I'm just going to do some swapping. And after the first set of swapping, this one's in the correct position, this is in the correct position, but now these two need to be swapped. And so I'm gonna go ahead and swap them. These are kind of basic techniques that don't take too long to learn, but knowing which one to use when can be a little bit tricky. But the main reason I'm doing this is not because I intend to explain how to do this. I think other people have done this many more times and have done it better than me. But by showing that these kind of simple steps of getting this side built, putting these pieces in the correct order, and then turning them so that the correct face is on top. This is a pretty easy way to solve this puzzle. And I think that if you know how to do that, if you know how to do those steps, you can solve this. You might need to learn one additional thing, which I will show you, which is how you can rotate this so that the outside pieces become the inside pieces. And you need to know how to turn this legally. But let's go ahead and kind of talk about how this works. So the first thing I'm going to tell you is that because this is a four-dimensional puzzle, sometimes I'm going to move it in 3 dimensions, for example, by doing this. But four-dimensionally, the puzzle is still solved after I've done that. We still have orange, yellow, red, white, green, and blue all in their correct spaces with an outside pink and an outside purple. So all I did was rotate it. And so when I'm doing this, that's a rotation. It's the same exact thing as doing that, right? I'm just changing which face is on top and which face is where. The reason I'm going into this is because there is a series of moves that's the most complicated part of solving this puzzle. That is just being able to do that rotation so that when we're scrambling, we can mix these outer pieces with the inner pieces. It's just a rotation, and if you do it correctly, it doesn't change anything on the puzzle state, the same way me doing this doesn't change where all these pieces are in relation to each other. So let's see how this works. This is called the gyro algorithm, and the easiest way to do it that I've seen is to take this top half, put it on the bottom, right? So now we've got half on top, half on bottom. Then we're gonna split it in half and bring it around and put it back together. And now you can already tell the pieces that were on the outside are no longer on the outside, they're now on the inside, but the puzzle is not solved anymore. So the first two steps are how we start the rotation, but we can't do those in a solve because we changed the puzzle in ways that it's not meant to be changed. So we need to complete the gyro rotation, which is again, just doing this. And the way we complete it is by splitting it in half and then doing this clamshell move. Then we need to, once it's closed, where the pieces in the back are now on the top, we stand it up, we rotate it, we do that same thing again, and we do it one last time. So we stand it up, we rotate it, we do it again. So that is a lot of steps, and all I did with all of those steps is the same thing as doing that. The reason we need to be able to do that is now these inner pieces used to be on the outside are now on the inside, and these pieces that used to be on the inside, the blue and the green, are on the outside. That's the trickiest part of this puzzle, and if you can do these steps, you can solve this puzzle. Well, if you can do these steps and solve a three-dimensional 2x2, you can solve this puzzle. So that's how we rotate it. Same way that this is a rotation, and these are rotations. It's all doing the same thing as we would do there. Now I want to talk about how you can legally turn this puzzle while you are scrambling it and while you are solving it. So whereas on this three-dimensional puzzle, when we turn it, what that means is we're going to move half the puzzle, but we're going to do a rotation of a face, which is going to move one side of the puzzle. So that's one turn. Well, to do one turn on this, we can turn a cube. That's one turn. But because this is two-dimensional, right? It goes this way and this way. This is three-dimensional because it's a face of a four-sided shape. So it's a little tricky. So anything I do like that is legal. That's a turn. That's a turn. So this makes it pretty flexible in how you are solving it. All of these are legal, valid turns. I could do that. I could do this. That's all just turning the puzzle. And the reason for that is because as we're turning it, we're just rearranging the pieces the same way that we would be turning a side on a three-dimensional puzzle. So that's pretty simple. There's two other kinds of turns you can do, and they're again equivalent to doing this. So one of them is to do that, and the reason that that's the equivalent is we just rotated the top the same way I rotated the top here. Now I can't rotate it 90 degrees because that doesn't fully complete the turn and it's no longer in a legal state. So you have to do 180 degrees. You have to spin it all the way around, but that's a legal turn. It's the same thing as, so to give a more clear example, it's the same thing as doing this kind of. So you can move your puzzle, that's legal. I'm gonna go ahead and move it back. And then the last turn is we need to pay attention to these outer and inner pieces because these yellow pieces and these yellow pieces, if we were looking at this in 4 dimensions, are physically touching each other like that. The same way that in 4 dimensions, these orange pieces are physically touching each other like that. And these green pieces are all touching each other. The purple are all touching each other. And it's the same on every side. It's also the same on the inside, right? So I've got these orange and these orange here. And when I put the puzzle like this, they're all physically touching. So that's the most realistic way to see it. Unfortunately, because we're in 3 dimensions, by having them physically touching, we can't actually see them, right? They're hidden. But that doesn't mean we can't turn that orange side. So to turn that orange side, there's 2 ways of doing it. Actually, no, I'll say there's 3 ways. The first way is to physically kind of open the puzzle up so that you can turn it and then put it back together. That's a legal turn. We moved the orange face right here. We did that 90 degrees. Now, the other way we can do it is to just, without taking the puzzle apart, turn one side, but we have to make the same move on the other side because we have to turn half the puzzle and complete the turn of our cell, our set of 8 pieces that are together. That's called a cell. And then the last way, if you've got better hand skills than I, you can hold the outer 2 pieces in place and rotate it. That's a more realistic example of what you're doing to the puzzle, but it can be tricky. We don't always have the dexterity for that. So if you can't physically do that, it's perfectly fine to make this turn the same way. Now, we've talked about what the legal turns are. We can do that, we can rotate, We can do our gyro, which is not even a turn, it's just how we rotate the puzzle physically. And when we're done with it, all we'll have done is change which pieces are on the inside and which pieces are on the outside. And more specifically, we'll talk about this later as we do an example solve, but we're taking the pieces on the front and on the back and putting those on the outside. So right now you can see I've got blue and green. When I do my gyro, it's going to physically put those on the outside, and you can already tell because they're already there. Now I'm just putting the rest of the puzzle back together correctly. And the pieces that were on the outside, the red and orange, have gone to the sides now. So that's an easy way to see what happens when we do our gyro, and that's all you need to know on how to turn it. Now I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about what's not a legal turn. Doing this is not a legal turn because that's like the equivalent of just turning half of your half of a side on a three-dimensional puzzle every time you twist a 2x2 puzzle. And this is a unique property of 2x2 puzzles, but every time you turn it, it's rotating half the puzzle. So by doing this, that's a 90-degree turn. That's it's only a quarter of the puzzle, so it's not fully turned. If I want to do that, I have to do this to keep it even. So that is one way that you can't turn it. Another way that you can't turn it is to do something like this, where I take it apart and I put it here, and then I don't complete the rest of my gyro. Or I take it apart and I do something like this. That's not a legal turn for solving. It doesn't mean you couldn't do that on the cube, it's just not a recognized legal term. And then if I incomplete a gyro, so if I start doing this and I do that, technically I've moved my pieces, but I haven't actually done it legally because now they're in different positions. You see the blue and green are no longer touching each other correctly. So we have to do either a gyro that rotates the whole puzzle without changing where the pieces are, or we have to turn it in this form. That still gives us a lot of flexibility on solving it, but it's the important part about how to solve it. So now I'm going to scramble this puzzle, and then I'm going to walk through how I solve it. I'm not going to say that I'm showing the only way to solve it, or even necessarily the best way, but it is a way that will solve it every time. And I think it's pretty consistent, and if you can solve this the way I do, again, just by making one face, so this time, let's say I'll do the white face. So if you can do this, and then if you can fix the top, so these two need to be swapped, so I'm going to do this. If you can do that and then rotate these, which there are a lot of really good videos that can teach how to do that, then you can solve this too. So let's go ahead and scramble it. And one of the things I'm going to say is if you want to keep it simpler for yourself, only scramble it with legal turns, right? Don't scramble it with turns that are not what would otherwise be considered allowed. So if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do a full gyro. And that'll help you kind of keep consistent with how you're turning the puzzle, right? Because when you do your gyro, you're making a legal turn that you could do in your solve, and it does do a pretty good job of helping you scramble your puzzle. There are faster ways to scramble. For example, if I just do that without finishing my gyro, I could turn this and get it into that state. So you can scramble it like that and it's faster. I'm not gonna scramble it like that in this video because I don't wanna teach people to do that turn necessarily, but that is recognized as a legal way of mixing this puzzle up. And it's definitely faster than doing the full gyro, than doing extra random turns, which might end up putting it in the same state it would be if we did the gyro incomplete. So yeah, I'm just gonna finish my gyro. Gotta do this one more time. All right, so now we've got a legally scrambled puzzle, and the way I always start is I'll set the puzzle down, I'll take a breath, and then I'll pick it up to start solving. And Realistically, if you were doing this competitively, you would have a 15 seconds before you start solving to examine it and get familiar with it. I'm not really tracking myself, so I'm not too worried about that. But what I will tell you is what I'm doing when I'm doing my initial review to decide how to solve it is I'm deciding what colors I want on the outside. And the reason for that is the same way that on a 3x3, on a three-dimensional 2x2, we have colors that are opposite each other, like white and yellow, and they're never going to be next to each other. When I solve this, the outside pieces are going to be colors that are opposite of each other. So those can be white and yellow, blue and green, orange and red, or on our four-dimensional puzzle, our other two colors are the purple and pink. Those are the fourth dimensional pieces. So as I'm looking at this, I'm looking for an even number of pieces that are on the outside, and that's how I'm going to decide what to put on the outside. So I've got 1, 2, 3 that are yellow and white, and then I've got a fourth, so it's even on this side. And then on this puzzle, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's an odd number, and it doesn't mean I couldn't solve it, but it makes it a little bit trickier. So I'm going to see if there's a better option. There might or might not be. So I've got 1, 2, blue or green, and on the bottom, no blue or green. And then on this puzzle, I've got 3, 4 blue or green, and no more. So I've got exactly 4 blue or green, which is a pretty good case, and that's why I would choose to solve the blue or green here. You can always do an odd number. It's just going to make it a little bit trickier to orient your pieces. So since I've got 4 outside pieces that are blue or green, right here and here, I want to rotate them so they're on the same half of the puzzle. So I can do that by putting them down here while these are on the top and do a turn at the bottom. And now my 4 blue or green are 1, 2, 3, 4. They're all on the same side. And what I need to do is I'm gonna start ignoring those actually, and I'm gonna start to build an internal diamond of blue and green pieces. So for example, right here, we've got 2 blue. This is a good place to build it. And the reason I wanna do an internal diamond is when I do my diamond here, it's gonna put these outer pieces all on the bottom. And I don't care where they are on the bottom because they're always gonna be on the outside, right? So now I gotta find an internal piece like that one and put it in the top. And this is kind of the same thing I would do to put my first face on the 2-dimensional 3x3. It's right there, so I can turn it down. But remember, when you turn on this side, you have to turn on this side. Turn it down, and then back up. And now we've got 3, and I need one more piece. Right there is where it's at. And it needs to go up here. So I'm gonna turn this side so that this piece is in a line with where it needs to go. This is pretty easy. Now it's facing down, so it's gonna be a little bit slower, but the actual process for putting it up is the same. I'm just gonna do 2 turns instead of 1, bring it back up, bring it over, and now I can insert it the way I would on the normal 3-dimensional puzzle. And we've created our diamond. And because we have this even amount, this set of 4, this is really useful because now I can swap this diamond to this side where I'll keep it safe, but then build my next diamond. And because I don't care where these pieces move, I'll always be able to put these down here and build my diamond without breaking anything. So let's go ahead and do our swap. And you can see I've put my diamond over there, and I'm gonna physically turn it like this. And the reason I'm gonna do that is now whenever I do this turn, it's not gonna break that. It's gonna keep that diamond together. So let's go ahead and find our pieces, and coincidentally, we've got 2 again on top. We've got 1 there, and our other piece is right here. So I'm going to turn this like so, so that it's under a spot where I can insert it. And then I'm gonna put it in. So having 4 is actually a particularly ideal case. You don't always get one this nice, but I'll talk about what to do differently if you don't have one this nice. I'm just gonna go ahead and finish making my second diamond. And I don't care if it's blue or green, I just need it to be one of those 2. And the nice thing about choosing an axis that's blue or green is every single one of these cubes is going to have either blue or green on it. That's part of the reason I can make this solve so successfully. So now I'm putting this on the bottom. I've I've got this on the top, and I'm gonna do a switch. So now I have 2 diamonds on this side, and then I'm gonna turn it again so that it's on the outside and the inside, and when I do these turns, it'll always be preserved. And now I just need to make my last diamond. So this time I don't have any that are already with 2, but that's fine. I can get one because I've got that there and there. By doing that, and I've started making my diamond, here's my next piece, so I can go down, over, and back up. And now I've got to solve one last piece with this one here. So put it below where I want it to insert, and then go ahead and insert it. And when I turn it up, I've now got 3 diamonds and 1 set of 4. Now, this is a really good case when I had 4. You won't always have that. So what you really want to do as your rule of thumb is you want to make as many diamonds as you can. And the reason for that is we're going to do a gyro where no blue or green pieces are on one corner, no blue or green are on the bottom corner, and the same with the back side. And when I do that, that means I can put all of my blue and green pieces on the inside. I can move them all to the inside with a gyro solve. So this is gonna stay on the inside, this is gonna stay on the inside, this is gonna stay, and these 4 are gonna come in. And then I can rebuild my diamonds. And if I can get all 4 diamonds built like that, then I can do a gyro, put them all on the outside, and I won't have any mixture of colors on the outside. So this is our end goal. There are other cases which are less pleasant where you don't necessarily have 4 of these, but basically you want to build as many diamonds as you can and then put the rest of the diamonds somewhere on the opposite side. And you might have, for example, 1 in diamond piece here facing this way and these 3 not diamond, and you would be fine. So that's how we're gonna solve it. And then we're gonna do our gyro, and we gotta remember to do it correctly so that we're not changing the state of the puzzle, we're just rotating it so we can see it in a different way. So we can see here, I did my rotation. I have no blue or green on the outside, and if I look at my puzzles, I've still got 2 diamonds, but I've got bars instead of other diamonds. And there's almost definitely a way that you can position so that when you turn one of these, you're gonna build something. So if I turn this to that, I can build a 3rd diamond. And then it's a little bit tricky because these are on the same face. But if I wanted to, I could try to solve these by rotating them the way I would do a rotation of this piece with this algorithm. So you see how I rotated that? But when I do that rotation, I break the bottom. So I need to do it in a set of 6, or sorry, a set of 3. So that was 1 rotation, that's 2 rotations, that's 3 rotations. And after I do my 3 rotations, my bottom is fixed. So we're kind of looking at doing the same thing here where we want to preserve this diamond, but we got to turn these up and make it so that this is also a rotation of 6, or a rotation of 3. So 1, 2 turns, 3 turns, 4, 5 turns, and 6 turns. So it's an even number of turns. That means this is a good case and we can go ahead and keep solving it. If you find that the number of turns are not a multiple of 3, what I usually then do is I'll swap some pieces over and do some more random scrambling. And the benefit of the random scrambling is I might do something like I try to put my greens together to make a green diamond. It's just reorienting our pieces, which is fine. But ultimately, we're gonna go ahead and do our rotation, and we wanna preserve this diamond, so I'm gonna put it on the bottom, and we're gonna rotate this top. And then these 2, we're gonna put on the inside and outside so they don't get broken when we turn up or turn down. All right, so now we gotta see this algorithm. It's faster on this puzzle because I only have to do it on half of it, on half of the pieces as I do over here. Because remember, every time I turn here, I have to turn here. But that doesn't mean it's harder, it's just not as fast. So yeah, let's go ahead and start and we'll do this. So down, over, up, back. That is half of a turn. Down, over, up, back. Okay, and so what we did is we rotated this piece. So we went from here to there and we did one rotation. So we're gonna do a second rotation to put it on the top, and then we're gonna do a third rotation on one of these other pieces. And after we do our third rotation, our diamond on the bottom will be fixed and be preserved. So let's keep going. The way I'm turning this cube as I'm doing it, I think is a good way of balancing it so that you can keep track of making an even number of moves on both sides and where you are in the puzzle. So you'll often hear me mutter or say, down, over, up, back. That's half, down, over, up, back. And we successfully completed our second rotation there, but because we've only done 2 turns, the bottom is broken right now. So we need to rotate the top so we can start on our next piece. I'm just gonna rotate it like this. And now we're gonna do a rotation for this piece, but above the same column that we were doing before, and it's gonna do one more rotation and put that green on top. So let's go ahead and do that. Down, over, up, back, down, over, up, back. Okay, so now if we look at our puzzle, we've turned up both of these half and we're halfway to getting our 4th diamond, and we fixed our bottom. So we can just kind of turn this and start again with these next 2. As long as it's a multiple of 3, it doesn't matter how you orient it. If you've only done something other than a multiple of 3, say both of these took 2 turns and I've done 4, then you have to keep track of the bottom and not mess it up. The same way that if I do this, so that's 1, I can't just start doing it here or it's gonna break the bottom. I have to keep doing it above this column to be fixing the bottom after I do my set of 3. So I'll show you what happens very quickly if I don't do it in the same position that I was in. So that's 1, that's 2, and then let's say instead of turning the top, I turn the whole puzzle and do my 3rd. Well, I did rotate this, but the bottom is broken. So now I would have to figure out where I was to fix it. And I don't even know if I will be able to fix it, but we'll see. Yeah, see, I didn't even fix it. So that's the main thing you gotta keep track of, but you keep track of that when you're solving the 2x2. So it's really the same kind of challenge to do that. So anyhow, we'll do it. We've got 1 turn here to get from this side up, and then we've got 2 turns because it's a clockwise rotation. So 1 turn there and 1 turn there. So let's go ahead and get started, and I'll try to do these a little bit faster with less talking. Down, over, up, back, down, over, up, back. Okay, so I did that. Now I need to do 1 rotation of this top layer so that this piece is moved over and the next one that I'm gonna rotate is in the correct position. And yeah, down, over, up, back, down, over, up, back, down, over, up, back, down, over, up, back. And voila, we've got our diamond there. We've preserved that diamond at the bottom, and we still have our 2 on the other side. So now if I turn the other side so that they're both on top and both on bottom, when I do my gyro, I am going to be putting all of my blue and green pieces on the outside and putting every other piece on the inside. Now, that's the first step to solving this puzzle, is getting it so that you have a single axis on the outside. The next thing we need to do is we need to solve the outside. And the easiest way to do that is I see here I have 3 green and 3 blue, so I'm just gonna do a rotation to put the 4th green there and create half of a cube of just green. And so I've got half of a cube of green and half blue. And now I need to do the same thing on the opposite side. So I'm gonna put this sideways so that when I rotate up or down, it's just gonna preserve half green, half blue. And so over here, I've got 3 blue right there, so I can turn up and then insert that corner. And ta-da, now I've got 2 half cubes, which if I rotate and put opposite each other, so it's blue on top, green on bottom, green on top, blue on bottom, I can do a 180-degree turn, and it's all green and it's all blue. So that is the part of this puzzle that is unique to the 4x4. The next stage is actually the same as doing this. I'm gonna pick one of these two, I'm gonna solve it, then I'm gonna pick the other one and solve that. And just looking over these cubes, this one is probably where I'm gonna start, and the reason for that is I see that I already have these two together. Doesn't mean that I couldn't have started with any other color, it just means this is slightly faster, and I also noticed this yellow and red just needs to do a single turn, and it's built. So now I need to find my next yellow piece, which is down here, and it needs to go underneath this corner for me to insert it. So I'm gonna bring it over, and now I'm gonna turn it up. And this is the same kind of way we were building diamonds before, but now our diamonds are single colors instead of 2 colors, because we're solving an actual face of our puzzle. So when I do this, I've built my first half of this puzzle, which is great. That is the equivalent to doing this on the 3-dimensional puzzle. So let's take our puzzle, and I'm gonna solve just one face of it. It's the same thing. So what I just did here is the same as doing this, right? But now I need to solve this half. And here's the trick for the first of these 2 2x2s that you solved. Because this side is easier than this side, it's more intuitive rather than algorithmic, I can just preserve this by swapping with a blue and then putting it like this so that my green is going to be safe while I solve my other green. Since this is yellow, I'm going to be solving the white side on here, and if you look, I actually already have 2 whites that are in the correct position where they're matching on 2 sides. So I just need to do with my green and white pieces the rest of this green and white diamond. So now if I look, I think if I spin this back, it will do that. And I've got 3. I need to solve the 4th one though. So let's go ahead and bring it down and take it out. And then I need to rotate it so that it's in the position I want to put it back in, under that, and I can put it in. So these are the same 3-dimensional 2x2 techniques that hopefully you've learned before trying out the 4-dimensional 2x2. But now I can put the green back together and it will be solved. The one thing I recommend that's going to make it so you don't have to turn it on this side to fix it is put the opposite side. So I've got pink, so I have the opposite side is purple. If this was red, then I would do orange. If this was blue, I would do green. And if it was yellow, I would do white. So we've got the opposite, and the reason for that is when I do my turn, it flips it around, puts the purple in the back, and now I've solved half my puzzle. So now I just need to solve this side, and again, the first half, it's okay if I do this because I'm only ever going to be doing these kind of slices, so it's always going to be easy to fix at the end with one last turn, either 1 or 2, if it's 2 away. So let's put that back. And we're gonna just kind of hold this for a second and decide what color do we want to solve. None of them have been pre-built this time, but that's fine. The pre-building is just skipping a step. It's not a requirement to solving. So I'm just gonna put this on, and I think I'm gonna start by doing the white face. This is just because I saw how easy it would be to build that bar. Now I need to get the other white face pieces in. This one's coincidentally already exactly where it needs to go, so that's nice. And now I need to find my other white piece, which is over here, and put it where this yellow one is so that I can rotate it up, just like that. Now I'll bring it down, bring it over, and bring it past because it was facing down. Turn it up. Put it back underneath, but now it's on the side instead of on the bottom. and insert it. And again, these are all things that you would do on a 2x2. So if you can do them on a 2x2, you can do it on this puzzle as well. So now you can see I've only got this section left to go, right? Because this is all solved, half of this is solved. We're making pretty good progress. And now I'm just gonna check and see. Since I solved the white face first, the top is gonna be yellow, and now I need to see if any of my pieces are in the correct positions. This is pink and red, this is red and purple and yellow. The yellow will be on top, but that doesn't match. Red and purple, this is red and pink, so it doesn't match. Purple, orange, pink and orange. So because these three don't match, I have a pretty good idea that this one is not gonna match as well. Pink and orange. So that's okay, that's perfectly fine. It just means we need to do it kind of the same way here, where if I had pieces that don't match, I need to swap and get them into position where they do match. So I'm just gonna go through and look for how I can make it match. I need one piece to match. So if I do, for example, this turn here, now the red and purple is in the correct place, and I'll fix that later. But this purple and orange is still wrong. This pink and orange is now correct, and the red and pink is wrong. So I need to do the same algorithm I did when you first saw me solve this, where I want to swap pieces around so that I can put them in the correct order. The algorithm on this puzzle, it feels much easier than on this one, but we can do the same exact steps. So it'd be like a turn away, turn up, turn back, turn up, turn away again, turn down, turn back, turn down again. And that rotates the pieces on this puzzle. And you might have to do it a couple times so that you can get all four in the correct spots, but it's not too hard, and it's the same steps that, again, could be done to solve the 3D 2x2. So let's go ahead and give it a go. I'm gonna start by putting this purple on this side. So if I want to turn this and put it on this side, I need to turn this and turn this side up first. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna turn over, turn up, and you might mess this up. I mess this up all the time. If you do, it's not a big deal. You'll just be able to fix it later. And keep trying it again and again. You won't break your overall progress. You might just struggle to get it back how it was originally done. But if you do it successfully, you'll rebuild your diamond, and that's how you know. That's how you can know that it was successful. And then you'll be able to check and see: do I now have more pieces in the correct side? I'm gonna turn this back so that it matches where it was before, and we could see that's now in the correct place. That's in the wrong place still, or actually, yeah, this is in the wrong place. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn the other side again, just because I like it when this side is solved as I'm starting, and now I can see what pieces are in the correct spot. And so just this one, but now all three of these are wrong, so it's one more rotation of the other three to fix it. So this is good because this is solved and I only need one rotation on this side. So this is purple red, it needs to go there, which means this purple orange needs to go here, and pink and red need to come here. So the way I want to solve this is I want to put the one that I want to rotate across over here, and then I am going to turn away from it and start my algorithm. And again, it's a little bit tricky. If you mess it up, don't worry, it's not that big a deal. You'll just kind of keep doing the same steps, and eventually you'll solve it successfully. So now that I've done that, we still have our purple orange on this correct side, or pink and orange, I can't remember which one was correct, but now you'll notice those are both correct, and these have also been rotated correctly. And the last step is actually, it's the same rotation pattern where you're rotating, and you need to do it in a set of 3. And if we look here, I've got one rotation up, one over, and then a second up. So 1, 2, 3, that's a set of 3. So this is a perfect case. Sometimes it's a set of 6 when you need to rotate all 4. But in this case, we don't need to do that. So we're just gonna continue our algorithm. Down, over, up, back, down, over, up, back, And you'll notice this is now solved, but we need to do that one next. So we're gonna rotate, and we're gonna do the same thing we did there, but with an extra rotation. Same as we've done in the past. Down, over, up, back, down, over, up, back. That's one rotation. So we gotta do it again. Down, over, up, back, down, over, up. And then, so I'm gonna finish my algorithm because it won't always be this neat where you're done, but we'll do back. And the reason that this is now out of alignment after doing it is because remember, we had to turn it once when we were solving it. But that's fine actually, because I can have it in this position, look and see, I'll line up my white sides, the red's in place, the pink's in place. So I just need to align the purple with that move. And we have solved our cube. If you finish solving the second piece and it's like this, you feel like you're done, but you're not, because remember, this is a turn of the puzzle. So that would be a +2, or it's a technically an incomplete solve. So just make sure that you put the same piece on the inside and then orient the outsides so that the colors are in alignment, and you have solved it. I think if you can solve this puzzle, it might take a little bit of time to get your mind around it, but the only tricky part really is getting these pieces on the outside, and that's just a matter of building this side the same way you build sides on a three-dimensional thing. And then the gyro. The gyro is probably the trickiest bit. When I bought this, it came with a business card from Melinda Green, the creator of this puzzle, that actually showed how to do the gyro. So if you can learn this gyro move, you can learn to solve the 4D 2x2, the 2x2x2x2. Yeah, so thanks for watching. I hope that made sense and simplifies how to solve it, because I know some people find this tricky. It's definitely time consuming, especially if, like me, you're kind of talking through it as you do it, but it is definitely also doable. Thanks for your time. I hope this has been helpful for you, and have a good day.